Thank you, Peter. Good evening, everybody. As Peter said, the end of round 4 comes up with arguably the match of the round between Canterbury, the home side, and they're coming out to be greeted by a crowd of probably 23,000. Magnificent sight here. The multicultural day has been a runaway success for Canterbury in both the years they've tried it. And Canberra, of course, have made the journey down from the national capital. One of these sides will go to the top 5 with a win today. Let's have a look at the sides that take the field. And there's the Canterbury team. Wilson, Williams, Ryan, McCracken, Halligan, Pollamount, Lamb, Pay, Gillies, that's Ben in number 9, Bella, Simon Gillies in 11, Smith and Dimmock, and Chris Anderson the coach, and Terry Lamb, I'm led to believe, will play at 5/8 in this game, even though he's wearing the number 7. The Raiders team, the same as the one that annihilated Newcastle. Mullins at fullback, Croker, Meninga, Wiki, Nagus, Daly, Stewart, and Osborne, Walters, Lomax, Pongia, Ferner, and Clyde. Tim Sheen's the coach. Down on the sidelines for tonight's game, Steve Roach.
There's plenty of noise here, as you can see. A very big crowd here at Belmore this afternoon. Canterbury have won the toss and decided to run towards the scoreboard. Terry Lamb and Craig Pollamount, we know that we've been told a lot that they're going to switch. They are. It's because Jared McCracken is saying he's not getting enough football. I've been lucky enough to see the Canberra side play in the last 2 weeks. They're in sensational form.
Thank you, Stephen. Canberra running from left to right. The breeze coming mainly across the ground. It may be slightly favouring Canberra in the first half, as Jim Dimmock is the first of the Canterbury players to be tackled inside his 20-metre line. Now Martin Bella had a good game in the match we did last weekend against South Sydney, even though Canterbury probably weren't all that impressive on that occasion. Dean Pay is in the side today for Mark Brokenshire, and now Craig Pollamount in and away and got around Paul Osborne and takes play out to the 40-metre line as the first penalty of the game is given to Canterbury. Interesting to note that head-to-head they've met on 9 occasions at Belmore, and Canberra have only won once, and that was in 1990. So that is a statistic that carries quite a bit of weight as Halligan kicks for the line and uses the breeze to assist that kick, finding the line 50 metres out. Bella now. A position at the top of the table, waiting for the winner of this game. Dean Pay, what a valuable player he is for Canterbury. He's wearing the number 8 jumper today. Pollamount took a real battering in the game against South. And he's getting first use of the football today because he's at half back. wearing number 6, and Lamb at 5'8", as I pointed out earlier. Away now to Dimmick, out a little bit wide, and working on the fringe was Simon Gillies, flicked off the ground by Terry Lamb. It's the sort of adventure that he's prepared to exhibit. The referee ruled there was a knock on. Terry Lamb disputes that.
It almost looked as though it was a Canterbury hand getting involved in the tackle here on Gillies. I think that was the case. Lamb knew that it was late in the tackle count. Didn't have time to have a look whether there had been 6 signalled once again. So a centre field scrum 20 metres out from the Canberra line. Much different start for Craig Pollamata today. His first involvement against South last week. He was knocked out in the tackle. He already looks dangerous in this match.
Canberra get their first use of the football. Daly it is who plays it, and Meninga, who looks even bigger than normal. Giant of a man at the best of times. Osborne puts it down, and Canterbury come up with the football. 10 metres into Canberra's territory. Bella working towards the Hill crowd, the scoreboard side of Belmore. Not frightened to keep it alive as Dimmick gets a one-hander off for Simon Gillies. Now they're just outside the 20-metre line. Pollamata, Lamb. Wilson gave them the decoy run, and McCracken was the man on the end of the Daly and Meninga joint tackle. 18 out from the line now. Compressed Canberra defence. Dimmick floating across and unloading. Ball goes loose to ground, and McCallum will put a scrum down.
A bit of a chance here for Canterbury. I think Dean Pay took his eye off the ball. He did very well, Darren Smith, to get through and get his arms free. And Pay came up with the knock on. He had Simon Gillies on his outside, and they were through the first line. Adventurous play by Canterbury early.
So Daly again now. Lamb out at 5'8", and sweating on Daly. We hear so much about Terry Lamb's ability to attack and support the ball carrier, but he's also a very strong defence player. And Walters is tackled for Canberra, but the sound of the whistle, it'll be a penalty against the blue and whites. It's a high tackle on Walters by Dimmick.
2 very good dummy half charges there. This is the second one. Steve Walters, poor marker defence. Mal Meninga made a good 10 metres, and Walters followed it up with a good charge. Didn't look to be too much in that tackle, but the referee early in this game making sure that we're not going to have too many head-eye tackles. That's an enormous kick from Canberra to find touch only 10 metres out from the opposition line.
Walters takes the tap, and Osborne is used as the battering ram. That's the try line, 3 metres in front of him. Stewart. Pongia went through as a decoy. Ferner puts it down. Wilson is with the ball for Canterbury. Ben Gillies. McCracken coming in from centre to take a forward play. Well, he might, he's so big. Darren Smith. Darryl Halligan. Darren Smith has gone to ground. Was there an incident in back play? Williams is tackled now. Darren Smith clutching at his head. He's back on his feet. No touch judges in. But that doesn't mean anything really until the end of the attacking play by Canterbury comes about. Play by Matthew Ryan, worked off by Jim Dimmick. Lamb punches it low. Mullins comes across. Nagus supports him on the left. Mullins pulled down by Darren Smith, so he's totally recovered, I would imagine. Now Bradley Clyde away from Terry Lamb and up to the halfway line.
He's a super footballer, Bradley Clyde. The first forward back after the kick, as he invariably is, and made a good charge up the left-hand side, as he does again. Offloads to Steve Walters. Vintage play from Brad Clyde, and isn't it good to see him back in the game?
Well, there's a mistake from Canberra. They did everything so well. Steve Walters gave them a quick play of the ball, but there was no dummy half. Simon Gillies short passing across for Wilson. 32 metres out from the blue and white's own line. Gillies handing it back for his brother Ben. Now they're 40 metres out from their line. And no score. The breeze suggested might be favouring Canberra. I'm pretty certain now that Thinking about a line kick earlier, that it's definitely behind Canberra in the first 40.
They took an eternity to get off Ben Gillies here, and they've paid the penalty by giving away just that to Canterbury. That sides have been guilty of making simple errors in the opposition 30-metre line, and Canterbury, the second time they've been down here, they'll be looking to control the football.
Talking about controlling the football, there's no doubt that Chris Anderson would have been talking about that during training this week, because their handling against South was down, Canterbury. As Polomauta works the run around, McCracken bursts into a hole. Wilson supports. That's a classic try. That's a great try. Scored by the Bulldogs.
Well, it was a great try, the run around, the simple run around, and as we've pointed out so many times before, what that does is put the defence into two minds. A very straight run from Jared McCracken straight into the hole. You'll see here, Polomauta around Lamb, gets the ball back, we freeze play there. You can see that this Canberra player has been put in two minds. He wants to come in. McCracken's coming very straight. He's got outside support as play continues. And the man who missed him was Brad Clyde. He thought that there was going to be an outside pass. Mullins came up with a pretty good tackle at the end, but Scott Wilson can finish a try and scores under the posts. But as soon as you put a defender back on their toes, or their heels, I'm sorry, then you're halfway towards beating him. And that's what they did with Brad Clyde. They put him in two minds. And the speed of McCracken, well, that threw him out completely.
Daryl Halligan then from right in front. And you don't even have to look. The flags are in the air, and Canterbury lead Canberra by 6 points to 0 after 8 minutes. Canberra back to the restart point. Easter Monday football from Belmore in front of a capacity crowd. And the Bulldogs aren't letting them down on the field. Well,
that was a great charge from Martin Bell. He showed good hands to keep the ball in the field of play. He was really right back on the dead ball line, and he's got outside the 20-metre line.
Darren Smith takes the third forward play. 10 metres short of halfway now. 6-0 in favour of Canterbury. Copybook try. Scored eventually by Scott Wilson. Now Terry Lamb. Looking for the line. He'll find it. He knows every blade of grass here. 15 out from the line. That's where the scrum will pack. 297th game. What's that make him? 6 short of Jeff Gerard's all-time record. 14-year career, an illustrious career. I was talking about ball control, particularly in the forwards, being a very important factor here today. Steve Roach, no doubt you'd agree with that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Look, both sides have showed their hand. They're willing to throw the football around, and I love watching this style of football. Just a little thing, too, from the Canterbury dressing room. Jared McCracken really fired up for this game. They're saying that Ruben Wiki scored 4 tries last week. He could get his New Zealand position, so he's fired up for a big one.
Interesting duel then between McCracken and Wiki as the Raiders, they spread it wide. Mullins starts to extend now. The defence comes across. Darren Smith did very well. I think the pass was thrown forward by Mullins anyway. Wilson goes back away from his 30-metre line. They're going to go from one end of the park to the other, these two. Simon Gilly.
I thought Nagas actually did a poor job of getting into the best position to catch the football. I thought he should have come back out towards the sideline as Dimmick makes it to the halfway. Really, the pass back inside was going back to where the Canterbury cover defence had reformed pretty well.
Bulldogs now 9 metres into Canberra's half. Lamb with a short pass for Bella. Look at Lamb, supports every play, plays it right out. Polomauta. That's a blemish on Polomauta's game.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Obviously got the wrong edge on it, and it went out on the full, so we come back for the Canberra restart. Turnover.
Gee, Martin Bella's had a storming start to this game. He's already made some great ground up the middle, offloaded a couple of times. Started the game with his head strapped. He doesn't believe that the hair getting in the eyes is going to be a problem any longer, so he's discarded that. It's a fairly awesome sight, Ray, isn't it? Nightmares about that.
I'd rather stay out of the hair subject. Walters now back inside for David Furner. This is Quentin Pongia. Oh, gee, that was an ordinary pass. He said, here it is, do your best, and Williams does that. Talking of Kiwis, here's another. Play on, says McCallum. Williams asked the question. He stopped, he went back to go, and then started again. 19 out from the line. The crowd is roaring now as the blue and whites pile on another attack. Lamb takes a high shot.
Yes, it's going to be John Lomax called out here. Terry Lamb hit high. The natives are getting restless. Jason Williams, a great job there. I actually thought he was tackled, but he looked at the referee. The referee signalled, yes, you've got every right to play on, so he picked up an extra 20 metres. This is going to be a simple task for Daryl Halligan to extend this 6-point lead to 8. I must say, Terry Lamb is not the sort of player who would stay down if he wasn't hurt. That's the loose pass run. Really, Meninga should have dived on that one. Jason Williams picks up. He looks like he's going to try and get on the outside of Mullins, but some good defence coming across. And he's wriggled out of the tackle of Nagus. 27 sidesteps there. And this is going to be the high tackle. Lomax coming in. And it's a pretty good shot. Certainly deserving a penalty.
Terry Lamb's on his feet. His head just at the bottom of the picture there. So the penalty now goes to Canterbury. And Daryl Halligan gets an easy one, just 18 metres out right in front.
No matter what side you are, Ray, before you go to your back line, you really have to establish something up the middle of the ruck, and I don't think Canberra have done that as yet. They made a great breakdown this side of the field, which came apart with a bad pass at the end of it, but they've made plenty of errors. You really just need to get the football under their arms, make a good indentation in the middle, and then look to exploit something out wide with a little bit of space.
Halligan then. Again, the flags are up. So Canterbury extend their lead. 8 points to 0, 15 minutes gone. Welcome back to Belmore, and 8 points to 0 after a quarter of an hour. And the home side looking the better, but then again they've had a mile more possession. The tackle count at the moment, Canberra have made 53 tackles in total to Canterbury's 24, so there's a huge margin there. Canberra yet to complete a set of 6.
Also a big margin in the missed tackles, Ray, which I guess because of that statistic is understandable. Canterbury have only missed the 1 tackle, 6 for the Canberra team already. And they played once on the scoreboard and numerous breaks made against them.
Ben Gillies. McCracken nearly burst through a gap then. Polomata picked up by Furner. Thought for a moment David might have been in that no-no area, and he dropped off it pretty quickly too. Terry Lamb's kick is fielded and brought back by Brett Mullins. The Raiders considered generally by a fairly healthy proportion of league fans to be a real threat this year if they can stay healthy. And this is Ruben Wiki. 4 tries against Newcastle last weekend. Osborne looks inside for Quentin Pongia. Now Walters out from dummy half, shows it to the suggested runner, then decided to do it himself before handing off to Brad Clyde. 40 metres away from the Canterbury line, the Raiders go on the attack and Meninga puts it down. Lamb can't handle either. It'll be a scrum, but it'll be a Canterbury feed.
It's been a tough afternoon so far for Mal Meninga. Last 2 times he's been anywhere near the football, he's come up with a mistake. It's a well-weighted pass from Laurie Daly. He was trying to sell the fact that he was going to give the ball second man to Mullins. He gave it to Mal straight. You see the shape of the head there. He knows that too many mistakes too early in this game for Canberra.
Ryan, the first man tackled. President's Cup to Canterbury today, 36-12 over Canberra. And reserve grade to Canterbury, 22-6. Martin Bella now. Did I see a hint of a sidestep from Bella? His confidence must be high.
I think his knee just gave way, Ray.
Polamaunta, a struggling run, but gaining ground. Ben Gillies looks for Terry Lamb, finds him. Dimmick is with him. Dimmick back inside. Wilson goes into a gap again. The ball goes down, but it's a penalty to Canterbury, and again right in front, 22 metres out.
Well, it was a good tackle from Brett Mullins, head on, and it looks as though his hand must have touched the football by the referee's ruling. I don't think that was a good decision. I don't think that Mullins touched the football. It was picked up by one of his Canberra teammates. I just thought it was a good strong tackle there and the ball came loose. I know that wasn't the best angle to see it from, and Callum was in a much better line of sight.
Penalty count would be a worry for Canberra coach Tim Sheens. 4-1 against him. One of Canberra's major problems has been their inability to hold the ball, though. They've been putting it down on early tackles. Darryl Halligan now from 23 metres out. He's right in front and kicking towards the railway end of Belmore. Beautiful day in Sydney. There's the Halligan kick. It's successful. We had Taylor yesterday. We've got Halligan today. 10-0. Laurie Daly, he's had the ball in his hands a couple of times, but probably a quietish performance blocker from Laurie so far.
Yeah, it has been, but I feel a bit sorry for Laurie at this stage. As Peter Sterling said, the forwards have got to lay the platform. Look, the difference is Canterbury are lining up and pushing each other out of the road in the forward exchanges to run the football. Canberra just aren't doing that.
David Ferner now doing something that he's by now grown used to, and that's unfortunate for the Raiders. Halligan plays it back on his 10-metre line. Jim Dimmick. Dean Pay gritting the teeth and taking a short pass from Polamaunta. They've used up a few tackles though, Canterbury, getting it 25 metres out from their line. That's the fourth as Bella plays it. Dean Pay met the pass on the advantage line. And now the last. Polamaunta. Kick bouncing favourably for Nagas. I thought for a moment he had some trouble on his hands. And Brett Mullins is swarmed upon by the doggies. That's Bradley Clyde. Almost going right through. 42 metres out from the Canterbury line. Good ground made by Brad Clyde. Osborne capitalises to the tune of 8 further metres now for Canberra. This finds them midway between the 20 and the halfway. Lomax, Nuggety, front row forward. Getting it closer to the 20-metre line as Stewart goes back for Daly to kick. Stabbing into the corner. And Scott Wilson got across there just in the nick of time.
It's well-weighted kick there. Jason Croker was on the fly. He, like Brad Clyde, has scored a try in every match this year, so he's in form. The switchback, trying to catch the Canterbury defence lazy on the far side. Showed a good turn of speed, did Croker. The positional player, Wilson, was very, very good.
Both these sides are prepared to throw the ball wide on the first tackle. It doesn't matter where they are on the field. And doesn't that make for entertaining football?
Yeah, one of the big differences, but Ray, is that Canberra, when they've made a bust, their support play is nowhere near as good as Canterbury. Steve sort of alluded to that to some degree, with the keenness of players to get there. You've really got to... Oh, mistake here by Mullins as it gone backwards.
Referee McCallum looks to his touch judge for a ruling.
Every time a player takes the ball up for you, you must expect him to be breaking the line, and that means you have to put yourself on his shoulder.
Nagus now. Canberra a bit lucky to be in the situation they are on this set of 6. Wouldn't have surprised me to see McCallum put a scrum down with a Canterbury feed. Stewart and Daly work, and then they send Meninga inside the 30. He puts a flick pass on. It came off the fingers, I thought, of Jason Williams. The referee McCallum says play on as Dimmock works it back for Simon Gillies. And this support play, as Peter said, is quite outstanding. Every time a player runs into traffic, he's immediately looking for help. And that, 9 times out of 10, is arriving. Wilson, a couple of metres short of the halfway. Darren Smith, time for a dummy half run. Polomanta, always on one side of the ruck. Lamb on the other, and it gives the Canterbury Bulldogs some great opportunities.
Steve Roach, some movement on the bench down there after 20 minutes.
Yes, a couple of players warming up. I'm not sure who they'll be replacing, with David Wesley and Brett Hetherington warming up. I think one of them could be, because it's very hot here, Paul Osborne.
Scrum taking its time to form. Brett Mullins is on his haunches, back on his own line as Canberra win the scrum, and Meninga wrapped up by McCracken. That brings a roar from the crowd as the two big centres come together. Ruben Wiki puts it down. McCracken picks it up. 25 metres out, 20 metres out. Now he's inside that danger zone. 10 metres out from the line. They'll push quickly to the left here. Lamb is with the ball. Now it's Dean Pay, and he has tackled 10 metres out from the line. Ben Gillies, Dimmock, Ryan is with him. Ryan runs at the gap, gets the pass away. Gillies can't pick it up.
Well, a little bit over-enthusiastic there with the Bulldogs in attack as Daly takes it 15 metres out. Matthew Ryan trying to throw the impossible pass. In fact, if it had been taken, it was try time again. Ball coming to the feet of the support player in Gillies. What about on the far side, the work done by McCracken? Oh, big tackle from Dimmock. McCracken came up with a similarly big tackle on Mal Meninga and then came up with the loose ball 10 or 15 metres down the track, next tackle.
Ball played by Lomax rather sloppily on the last, and still they're able to put it through the hands, out for Stewart to clear. Wilson gets a great mark and then runs into Terry Lamb.
Well, that's how well Terry's going. He's even making tackles for the other team. Loves getting involved.
Is that confidence or what?
Oh, I think Scott will be really impressed.
Williams now. Bella's coming off for Canterbury. Brokenshire is going on. They're on the halfway line. Ryan. Polomanta. Lamb. Across the back for Simon Gillies. Dimmock is with it, but referee McCallum, I think he feels that Terry Lamb got a touch on it. Watch this closely. It's here that he thinks Lamb gets a touch on it, and if that be the case, I would have thought Dimmock was offside.
That's right. Well, we saw a very similar decision made against Canberra down on the 20-metre line. That led to a Darryl Halligan goal.
Brad Clyde came ambling out the back of the scrum with the football. and looking for runners, but nobody wanted it. Now, Canberra have put a replacement into the game.
That's Brett Hetherington out there in 41. This is the other replacement. A good young forward prospect is David Westley in 40. You can see they're strong. 3 players couldn't put him to ground. They go wide now. Daly with the football, looking for a second man.
He finds that in the shape of Brett Mullins, who then draws the defence. This is Nagus. Oh, he's lightning on his feet. Steps inside and scores. Well, can he move?
Well, Scott Wilson is a very good defender, and the ease that Ken Nagus beat Scott Wilson shows the evasion of this player. Some good work done here by Laurie Daly, selectively picking Brett Mullins, who got on the outside of McCracken, who had gone in. Too much speed did Brett Mullins have for McCracken to recover from that. And then, well, look at that, how easy was that for Polomouta coming across in cover. Ken Nagus did a great job of getting back inside. You'll see here, McCracken goes in towards Daly, and he had to react to come back out because Mullins got the football. Nice little pass by Mullins over to Nagus. Big right foot step with the swerve and improves the position just marginally.
Well, haven't they produced some exciting wingers in recent times, Canberra?
I'd imagine, Ray, that when John Chicka Ferguson retired, they'd have thought he would have been irreplaceable. Noah Nandruka has made an enormous fist of this game in his first season. Now with the likes of Wiki and Nagus coming through, things look very rosy.
Furner's kick is a horror. He's not normally that erratic, David Furner. But the Raiders are on the board as we go to a break. Canterbury 10-4. Halligan's restart goes straight down to Mal Meninga. Hetherington. The 2 replacements on for Canberra. And now they make a mistake again inside their own 20-metre zone or just outside it. This time it was Quentin Pongia.
We made the comment last week in the South Sydney Canterbury game that one of the important times is after you've scored points, that you come up with a good set of 6. And Canberra guilty of making a mistake on the 3rd tackle, and McCracken finds Halligan. I thought it was forward, so did Greg McCullum.
Well, Canterbury obviously haven't heard the whistle. McCracken's pass definitely forward to Halligan. The scrum on this far side, which is absolutely jam-packed with fans. Brad Clyde. Furner. Hustling and bustling forward, and Steve Walters is there to support. Again, he gives a quick play the ball for Wesley to feed off for Stewart to keep low. Stewart keen to play the game down the other end. Wilson scurries across. Runs into big Mal Meninga. Laurie Daly pats him on the back.
A little bit surprised there, Ray, that Stewart didn't decide to run the football. He took advantage of a quick play the ball, and he had Daly, Meninga and Nagus on his outside with a bit of space.
10-4 the scoreline in favour of the Canterbury Bulldogs. On this Easter Monday, they're playing in front of the multicultural audience, and that's been an amazing success for them. People from countries right throughout the world have gathered today to take in rugby league, but to exhibit some of their own style. And talking of style, here's Terry Lamb, in and out and back, and then Ryan, and now Gillies goes in to score. How beautiful was it? Simon Gillies scores, but the master Bulldog, he slithered in and he went left and right. He was looking for people.
And take nothing away from Dean Pay. He takes the ball forward and gets away the key pass. Goes out. You can see the centre on the far side for Canberra not reacting at all, and Terry Lamb backing up as he does best, finding the best position to position his support players. The first one was Matthew Ryan. The second one was Simon Gillies. A great try, and it looked very good from this angle. Dean Pay going away, committing 2 defenders, the inside ball. Hetherington was a bit slow in coming across for the Raiders. Terry Lamb looking for support players, finally finds Ryan. And he did a good job, Ryan. A bit of a fend there, got his arms free. Apart from Simon Gillies, I think I saw another Canterbury jumper in support as well.
Simon Gillies, second row forward. They've got a bit of pace between them, the Canterbury second rowers. Darren Smith and Simon Gillies, and now Halligan with the backdrop of a sea of faces. 23, 24,000 probably. And Halligan again raises the flags. His record's intact. Leading point scorer last year, 16-4 in favour of Canterbury. The cheer girls, they have been kept busy by the Bulldogs today. Michael Neal, our statistician, pointed out something quite interesting, that all the goal kickers, including the Halligans, the Taylors, their success rate is down quite significantly on 1993 figures. He poses the question, is it with the 10-metre defence rule that more tries are being scored, but more tries are being scored wide out on the field? I'm not sure of that. But interesting to note that even the Taylors and the Halligans, their success rate is down. Jim Demick is just outside the 20-metre line. Well, this has got a lot of essence to it, hasn't it? The Canterbury lead. What have they been over there now? 3 times. 3 times they've been across the line.
And again, the Raiders are paying the penalty for giving up too much cheap football. They've already reached the century mark with tackles against Canterbury's 67. So when you're doing that much defence, you haven't had much chance to attack with the football. And Canterbury really have turned it over on second, third tackles far too often. Polamalu gets a shallow kick in. Nagus gets the good bouncing ball, but met by a straight line of Canterbury chasers.
Mullins now. The Kraken. Touched up in there. Twice, Michael tells me, not 3 times. Brokenshire. Polamalu. Lamb. Half-time draws close. Matthew Ryan has been kept busy today in the centres. He had some unhappy moments last weekend. Williams does some light stepping, then caps it off with a great pass. But Mullins exhibited his basketball characteristics to save the day. Bradley Clyde now.
And just as well he did. It was a great catch. What about the handoff from Jason Williams to Scott Wilson? He knew that there was going to be a support player there. Meninga now gets involved.
This is the play that Peter was talking about. Jason Williams and then Scott Wilson. Mullins does well there.
I don't think Mullins would have had time to turn and chase either. I think Wilson would have scored, so that was probably a try-saver catch there by Brett Mullins just before half-time, and it has to be Canberra that scores next if they're going to stay in this game.
Stewart pushing it wide. Daly puts it on the boot. And that's going to find the line about 15 away from Canterbury's try line, and Daly just a little bit of trouble there, I thought, for a moment. Yes, it's that right knee.
There's pretty good pressure put on him on that kick there. He came right to the line, and Terry Lamb, in his effort to charge the kick down, just collected Laurie Daly's leg.
Darren Smith goes off early.
Meninga's gone to 5'8" from this scrum. Daly out into the centres. maybe Daly is struggling a little bit. He's nipping across to the blind side there. We're keen to get him off at half-time and get some attention. In fact, he's called to the trainer once again.
Well, on the right of the ground now, we've got both second rowers in the line of defence with one centre and a winger. Meninga and Daly both find themselves on the right of the ground, and Mullins has pushed forward into the centres, and Nagus has dropped back to full back. Loose ball, hold the phone. Ruben Wiki was off.
Yes, Ruben Wiki got a hand there knocked on. It's Daly down receiving attention, and as Ray points out, a couple of changes in the back line here. Ken Nagus did go back to full back. That's pushed Mullins up into the centres. And Daly onto the wing now.
Canterbury coming up with the scrum win as Lamb uses McCracken.
With only a couple of minutes to go, Ray, I'd be kicking down behind Laurie Daly's wing. Trying to position somebody on the far side to keep Nagus there and then make it into a chase with Jason Williams, because at the moment Laurie Daly would run second.
This is Jason Smith. They're still on their own side of the halfway as Polomouta serves it up for Dean Pay. Then Terry Lamb supports, gets into another hole and is brought down 35 metres out from the Canberra line. Played by Lamb, across and away from Dimmick. Polomouta pulled down. Last tackle coming for Canterbury. Lamb goes for the drop goal. Let's watch the referee. I think it's all right. Put another one down for Canterbury alongside the name T. Lamb. 17-4.
And an excellent option there, 1.5 minutes out. They were leading by 12. They now lead by 13, Canterbury. It means their opposition have to score 3 times. And psychologically, another blow on the Canterbury team on the streak of half-time. Plenty to do for the Raiders in this second half.
17-4. It could well have been the time. And I looked at the timepiece and that's exactly what it was. Canterbury over the Raiders.
Oh, that's spooky, right?
Simon Gillies now, try scorer in the match so far.
Been telling me a few voices you've been hearing in your head as well.
Lamb across for Dimmick. There's a chance! Lamb's over the halfway! He's running like a 2-year-old! Wilson gets it back for him! He's looking for help! Gets it up now! This is Ben Gillies! This is Scott Wilson! 10 metres out for the line! Oh boy! You reckon he's not having a picnic, the captain! Dimmick now! 3 metres from the line. Super performance by T. Lamb and by Canterbury. Gillies out now. Lamb holds it back. Then across it goes. And here's another try, but it's forward.
Their line ball decision there, Simon Gillies just getting in front of the man passing the ball. Good lead up from the inside players once again. A great ball here from Jim Dimmick. He's had a sensational game as well. And Terry Lamb has been the man who's probably appreciated Dimmick's work more than anybody else out there. Straining to find a support player. Ben Gillies, the hooker, you might as well get involved. Scott Wilson takes the tackle. And at half-time, what a half from Canterbury. 40 minutes of champagne football.
And so at the break, 17-4, the Canterbury Bulldogs over the Canberra Raiders. And we'll be back for the second half after this break. And of course, the players leaving to a tremendous reception on Multicultural Day here at Belmore Sports Ground.
A dominant first half performance by Canterbury here at the Belmore Sports Ground sees them leading at half-time 17 points to 4. And I can't remember seeing a more lopsided set of statistics against one team. 60% of the football for Canterbury, they had all the ball in that first half. And the reason why is that the Canberra side came up with 11 handling errors. They only held the ball twice out of 15 sets. The Canterbury side, they've shared all the work around. Jim Dimmick has been outstanding, leads the tackle count and has done well in the hit-up department. While for Canberra, well, I think their lock has been their best as well. 15 tackles for Bradley Clyde. He leads the hit-ups as well. And they've just had too much work to do. If you're doing all the tackling in the first half, you're going to come up with mistakes and missed tackles. And that's exactly what we saw from the Raiders in the first half. And Steve Roach, I would imagine that the Canberra coach Tim Sheens would have had plenty to say.
He's not real happy, Timmy Sheens. He's just saying that his players are making too many mistakes and they must go forward if they expect their backs to put something on. He said a couple of times Bradley Clyde's gone through holes and just been standing there like a shag on a rock. He wants to see more support. Just quickly on Laurie Daly, he's got knee ligament injury. He won't be back. Ricky Stewart has gone to 5'8", and the halfback will be Steve Stone. Well, in the Canterbury dressing room, Chris Anderson obviously happy. He said to his team, look, if you're fair dinkum, you'll go on with it from here. He said, work to the middle, kick on early tackles and try and pin Canberra on their own line.
So Canberra make their way back out. Chris Anderson, Canterbury coach, contented at the moment with this scoreboard of 17-4 in his favour. I suppose he might be reminded, as many will, of a match we did here, I think it was last year, against North Sydney for Canterbury. They came from about a similar margin
17-0 down, I think they were, Ray.
Yeah.
And it was the last good performance we saw from North really last year.
Well, welcome back now for the second half. If you missed the first, you really missed something, because it was an outstanding half of football, particularly for Canterbury. Canberra on the end of one of the more lopsided tackle counts I can remember. And now they've lost Laurie Daly. So the Raiders into the breeze in the second half and missing one of their superstars.
Well, they've got all sorts of problems, Ray. And one statistic I didn't get to, I don't think that's happened on many occasions at halftime that Canberra have been out-kicked as well. Canterbury kicked 9 times in that first half, Canberra only 4, and that again reflects just how little football they had. Big defence there from Dean Pay on Ferner.
Steve Walters away from dummy half. He's made several runs out of dummy half that have resulted in good yardage for the Raiders. Stewart's kick floating down towards Darryl Halligan and eventually over the sideline. Stewart, we're told, playing at 5'8", and Steve Stone at half-back as Canberra reshuffle their back line with the injury for Laurie Daly. Friday of this week, we go to Parramatta Stadium for the Eels versus St George on Friday. Next weekend we go to the National Capital on the Sunday for Canberra versus Illawarra. Halligan wanted to get involved, but I don't think that pass was meant for him. And Terry Lamb takes a buffeting from the Canberra defence. McCracken finds himself at dummy half, and Jason Smith is just beyond the 30-metre line. Dean Pay's effort has been strong. Ben Gillies now wrapped up 40 out from his own line. Brokenshire picked up and pummeled into the ground. Polamalu, Dimmock, Gillies running the decoy angle, and they're on the halfway mark. They've used up 5. Lamb just lobbing it over the head of Jason Croker, and now Mullins has to work out of the corner. He draws the first line and uses Croker. Simon Gillies across, making the tackle. He covered a lot of ground, Simon Gillies, to get involved, and that's been pretty much what he's done all day. Quinton Pong here. 17-4 then in favour of Canterbury over Canberra. Ferner, as they put on a set forward play, uses Wesley, and they try and attack down the blind side.
And that's the kind of desperation that Canberra are going to need in this second half. A bad pass to Steve Stone, first receiver. Second man pass to Brett Mullins was well read there by Matthew Ryan. On the last tackle now, that was important that Canberra in their first set of 6 didn't come up with a mistake.
Stewart with a grubbing kick that's got Wilson Fields close to the sideline, and then makes his way back out to the 20-metre line. Williams put down by Hetherington. Ryan. Brokenshire once more. Last tackle, so Canterbury have actually come 15 metres on 5 tackles. And now a sloppy pass from the captain. Polomauta, he puts the kick in, but it's going, I thought, out on the full, but he got a bounce just inside the touchline. But that was probably Canterbury's worst set of 6. Most definitely it was.
Yes, Canterbury almost wouldn't have wanted half-time to come around. They were going that well. And start in the same vein as they did the first half. This is an area that Canberra love attacking from. They've got a big back line set to the right. Stewart at 5'8". Ruben Wickie's actually moved into inside centre and Meninga on the outside.
Stewart, talking of Wickie, sends him up the centre as he floated across the ground. Now he comes back to a wide blind side. He offers the runaround for Hetherington. It's back with Stewart now. Across the face, and up comes the defence of Dean Pay again, together with Simon Gillies.
So it was a set play that didn't work, didn't come off. I think Daly may have been involved in that. The ball went to Hetherington. He wasn't the man supposed to have got it. Ferner now offloads well to Clyde. This is better work from Canberra, keeping the ball alive. Wesley tackles centre field.
22 metres out. Trailing by 17-4. Brad Clyde. Meninga came into the play. David Ferner combines. The pass back inside. It was knocked on by Canberra. The referee plays the advantage. And Jason Smith gets beyond the 20-metre line. Ben Gillies is limping back into possession. That's why you won't see him a dummy half for a little while. He's trying to get some feeling back in an ankle. Simon Gillies. Williams decides to try and take them on, the markers that is, but Ruben Wickie makes the tackle on the halfway mark. Now Dean Pay, further 8 metres, and that's 5 tackles gone. Here comes the kick for Polomauta. Mullins again with a little decision to make. This time he lets it go.
Well, they had a chance at the other end, Canberra. They kept the ball alive. Unfortunately, the pass from Ferner back inside to Steve Stone went too low. And now 6 rucks later, 80 metres down the other end, we have a Canberra feed, and they're at the end of the field that they don't want to be. Trailing by 13, they really have to be the side putting the pressure on down the other end.
Steve Stone in jumper number 20. Jason Croker's tackle, but Canterbury have been found inside the 5 from the scrum. A differential penalty for Canberra, and Stewart finding the line 35 metres out. Hetherington carries the football up. No lack of enthusiasm in the Canterbury defence. 3 men in that tackle and 2 in that one. Quentin Pongia is on the end of it. Walters offloads for Ferner, who turns it back inside for Brad Clyde. Walters supports Clyde, and that's the end of the support. But now they're 35 metres away from the Canterbury line. Stewart out wide, then for Meninga, now for Mullins. The winger's outside him looking for it. Mullins comes through, Meninga goes on, now Nagus comes around the back. 12 metres out from the line. Stone, Stewart, Clyde runs a decoy infield. Ruben Wickie. Now a Canterbury player came up out of the line, you would have noticed that. Croker turns it inside. Tackled is Ruben Wickie again. Now from Walters on the 5th. Stone throws a long pass. Stewart went behind him. He keeps it alive, however. Williams comes off his wing. There's got to be a gap. Mullins goes down for the corner, and I do believe he's in. Mullins gets the try for Canberra.
Yes, a very good try there from Canberra, what they do best. Getting the ball from one side of the field to the other as quickly as possible. They ran it on the last tackle. You see, as Ray pointed out, that Jason Williams comes in off his wing. A mistake there by Stewart. A wide pass. Now we freeze it there. That's Jason Williams. He's come in. The wide pass has gone over the top. This play continues. And you'll see coming into support now is Brett Mullins. He's on the outside of Williams. Wilson had a good shot at him, and Mullins did a great job to get over and to keep in the field of play. You'll see here, with it being the last tackle, some of the Canterbury players had actually gone back behind the line. Williams went in, that left 2 men on his outside. And Scott Wilson, he did his best, but Mullins did a great job to get the ball down. And it's fairly obvious that that was exactly the kind of start that Canberra needed in this second half as Spurner moves in. Doesn't hit it well, and it swings away sharply to the left. But Canberra back in this game, 17 points to 8.
So Canterbury's Daryl Halligan with the restart. The sun in the eyes of the Canberra Raiders down in that corner of the ground. And Quentin Pongia is brought down just inside the 20-metre line. Is this the start of the Canberra resurgence? 17 to 8. No Laurie Daly. Told by Steve Roach some ligament damage to that right knee of Laurie Daly's. As Canberra used the ball through the hands, they've created an overlap. Canterbury slide across in defence to shut it down. Back they come through the hands of Stone, and now Hetherington gallops up the centre. Penalty goes against Canterbury inside the 10. Greg McCallum really took his time in giving that penalty.
But again, I think it's appreciated by all the players, the fact that advantage is played. In fact, just before the try was scored by Canberra down the other end, I've got no doubt McCallum was going to give a penalty when they brought the play back to the left. Canterbury were well and truly offside, but he allowed play to go on. The more advantage that can be played in this game, the better it is for everybody.
So another opportunity now for the Raiders. 25 out from the line. Walters works an angle with Pongia, who comes off second best and is slammed down by Jason Smith and Terry Lamb. The ball comes out. That brings a roar from the crowd.
Yeah, pretty poor ball security here by Pongia. Getting up to play the ball quickly. The ball came loose and McCallum was right on the spot.
28 minutes of the match remaining. Still plenty of time for Canberra to win, if that's to be the case, Steve Roach.
So, yeah, I reckon they're still in this, the Canberra side. Look, I'm being very impressed with the two replacements, Wesley and Hetherington. If we look at the statistics, I'm sure that them two have been very heavily involved for Canberra.
Well, just the goal kicking really is the difference, I suppose. If you analyse it. But then again, Canberra haven't had that many opportunities, have they? And what about that tackle count? How's that looking now? 160 for the Raiders and 125 for Canterbury. And keep in mind, the Raiders scored 28 points to 0 in the second half last Sunday against Newcastle. That mightn't mean anything, though, as far as Canterbury are concerned, if they've got the desire to go on with it, as their coach said at half-time. It's there to be won. Terry Lamb is 40 metres away from the Raiders line. Polomouta turning Simon Gillies inside. Without labouring the point, he has had a high involvement today, Simon Gillies. Dimmock turning it back. And this is Matthew Ryan. Tackle 20 metres out. 5 tackles gone. Lamb puts it high and across field. Polomouta's coming quickly. Polomouta got a checkered passage. Mullins takes it cleanly. We go back out to the 20-metre line for the restart.
Yeah, good tactics from Canterbury. A bit of sun out there. Something of a problem for the Canberra players. Fortunately, Brett Mullins was shielded away from it a little bit and came up with the safe take.
(17-8) after 53 minutes of this game. Steve Walters. Must be his 6th or 7th run out of dummy half, and every time he makes ground, which means that he's got very good vision from dummy half. Mullins out wide, Nagus is out wider, but Mullins is brought down. They're 35 metres out, and they continue to make ground down that right-hand side. Stewart now goes to the air. Croker comes through with one boot missing. It might have come off his hands. It doesn't matter if it did. Canterbury come up with the football, and McCallum says play on.
Well, that was interesting, that one. Not sure whether we've come up with the right result there as McCracken bumps off one defender going towards centre field. I thought that Halligan actually got a hand to it. Let's have a look at it here. No, it was the right decision. Croker got his hand to it, then tried to knock it back. So play on. Jim
Dimmick now. Unloading for Jason Smith. He walked over the top of them and then turned it inside, but it goes to ground.
And more importantly, Brad Clyde very slowly to his feet. He's in some trouble out there. He's getting help back as well, so the injury woes continue for the Raiders outfit. You've got to get that last shot of Terry Lamb. For prosperity's sake, you don't see him drop the ball like that any more than once in a season.
Stewart. Meninga coming back in. Defence red Meninga coming back in on a second-man play. And now Furner works across to that hillside, and McCracken makes another big tackle. He's one of the real popular players here at Belmore, Jared McCracken. Everything he does, the crowd, they enjoy it. Slammed down as Quentin Pongia. Now for Stone, a dummy for Hetherington, on for Clyde. So he's made a fairly rapid recovery. Lamb was dragging around his heels, and Jason Smith made the tackle up the top. This is David Wesley, who I tend to remember was found by Wally Lewis up in the far north of Queensland. And there was a fairly good chance he would go to the Gold Coast. He's finished with the Raiders, and they're glad that he did. Polomouta. Martin Bella about to return to the battle. And Mark Brokenshire comes off as Canterbury used the ball across the ground, but it didn't have that zip to it that it did in the first half. Halligan plays it back for Ryan. Bella's in there quickly to take his first play. It ends near the halfway line for Martin Bella. Dimmick. Dean Pay surging onto it, meeting the ball right on the advantage line. And it propels you every time 7 or 8 metres onward. Lamb and Ryan combine, and oh, the Dogs had an overlap. Now all they've got is a football over the sideline.
Yeah, that was try time for Canterbury, and hasn't happened very often today, but the final pass didn't go to the right man. They just opened up Canberra there. The winger came in, Croker, and if the pass had found McCracken, he had Halligan unmarked outside, he would have scored in the corner. So a let off for the Raiders.
Stewart floating it across the face of Quentin Pongia as they attack the blind side, or it was David Wesley, who's now dummy half. Clyde goes back to the halfway line to be bet by Bella and by Ben Gillies. And the Raiders to the right they go. Plenty of numbers in the line. Wesley. Stone has gone into acting half. And it's been coughed up. And Cole.
And the second such mistake in a short period of time by Canberra. That time David Wesley. And the ball going out. He gets, there's a hand in there from Terry Lamb.
The Polomouta slides around to the open side of the scrum. That's the halfway line. Marty Bella. Wesley went in with a tackle, or it was Ruben Wiki actually. It brought a groan from the crowd. Lamb. Inside for Jason Smith. A handoff. Referee McCallum says play on. Bella thumps it up on the blind. Dimmick serves it up for the open. Dean Play is on the end of a Canberra shoulder. And Terry Lamb is put down by Steve Stone on 5. Tim Sheen sending instructions out to his team. As Polomauta plugs that ball into the bottom corner, Nagus gets a favourable bounce. And Polomauta puts them all onside. Back on their own 10-metre line. And again, they find themselves coming out of the corner. Hetherington, only young but obviously talented. Walters uses Croker now. 6 more tackles indicated by McCallum. They've made their way just outside the 20-metre line. Lomax. The 2 number 10s have a confrontation. Walters uses Stewart. And Clyde was running on the fringe of the ruck. And McCallum has found a high tackle.
Yeah, Jim Dimmick, the man found guilty by Greg McCallum there. He hit the ball very straight, Brad Clyde. There wasn't much on from the pass from Ricky Stewart. And I think it bounced from the shoulders up around the head area. They've had a good glut of possession lately, Canberra. 6 again, signalled only a couple ago. This is about the 10th or 11th tackle they've enjoyed in a row.
Is Daly back on the bench with that right knee in ice. Hetherington gives them a fairly quick play the ball, and this is Wesley. He runs like a class player, and there are huge reps on him. Lomax is the man doing the dummying, and it's away now for Wiki to turn inside. Ferner is wrestled down. 17-8. It's not as comfortable for Canterbury now. Stewart cuts out Lomax, who really got in the road then. Stone and Meninga combine for Clyde. Then for Nagus, we saw him earlier. He comes sliding back in field and is tackled. Thought he was about to do what he did in the first half. Mullins gives a shocking pass out to Stone. Across for Ricky Stewart. Stewart gets through an opening. Here comes a try. Croker goes in wide out. And the Raiders are back to 17-12.
Well, that's 4 tries from 4 games for Jason Croker, but he only had to catch the pass from Ricky Stewart. The Canterbury defence got up very quickly. Almost a professional foul from Terry Lamb. He could have got 10 minutes there, but play was called on. You see the dummy throwing. Marty Bella was a little bit slow to come up. All the Canterbury defence going in towards Ricky Stewart. And Jason Croker scores their 2nd try. Nice dummy thrown by Ricky Stewart. He's had a quiet game, but with more possession for his side, he's starting to come into his own. And unfortunately for the Raiders again, they've scored well wide of the posts. And not an easy kick for Ferner. But the margin is narrowing.
3rd try of the match for Canberra. 2nd try for this half. And they've scored the more number of tries now. Ferner's 10 metres in from touch as he prepares for this kick.
He hasn't hit the ball well today, David Ferner, but this is on his better side as well. Right-hand kicker, they must prefer to be on this side of the field. Right foot kicker that would be, wouldn't it, Ray?
Well, I suppose so. It's something that you didn't entertain all that much in an illustrious career.
Too much pressure, eh?
The big Canterbury crowd willing this away, and they've got their wishes. 17-12. 63rd minute now.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Restart time again. Will it be Canberra that scores next? And if so, will that take them to victory? Darren Smith gets ready to come on. Stone comes out from dummy half.
And all of a sudden we're seeing what Canberra can do when they get some momentum with possession. No surprise to see them score that last try. They had the ball for 12 or 14 tackles in a row. Restart here, they've come up with a mistake again, and it's Ruben Wiki. They've really got to control the football far better in the tackles. Good solid defence front on there by McCracken and Lamb. And the ball's come out.
Scrum near the halfway line, as you can see. 15-7 the handling errors, with Canberra very much on the wrong side of that statistic. Simon Gillies.
Send positional change out there, Ray. Darren Smith has moved into the centres as Dimmick goes up the blind side. I've seen Matthew Ryan move out onto the wing.
Polamaunta. Lamb cuts out Jason Smith, picks up Darren. He shows it, puts Scott Wilson back in field. Desperately looking for support that wasn't coming. Jason Smith away for Terry Lamb. Martin Bella takes it to within 12 metres. Lamb supports him. Dimmick picks it up on the half volley, takes it back to where it came from. Gillies back for Lamb. Lamb goes up the middle, and he's swamped there by the Canberra defence, but he's only 8 metres out. 5 tackles have expired for Canterbury. Simon Gillies on for his brother. Dimmick puts the grubbing kick into the in goal, and that is shadowed by Croker as it goes over the dead ball line. Hetherington.
That's very good urgency there from Canberra. They got the ball back quickly to the 20-metre mark. Steve Stone off to Hetherington, and now second tackle. They're 35 metres out from their own line.
About 14 minutes of the match remaining. Wesley. Walters. Another good run out of dummy half, immediately putting Canterbury back on their heels. And what they need is a quick play of the ball and something similar. Stone pushing on for Stewart. Now Meninga out wide. Oh, great pass by Meninga. Nagas comes inside off his left foot. Turns it back for Clyde. Clyde's pass picked up by Croker on the bounce, and McCallum was there. He said play on. This is the last tackle. Canberra are very wide to the left. Here they come. Stewart with that big pass. Mullins tries to put it through on the boot, but it goes over the sideline.
Well, Mullins went for the miracle play. If you can get your foot to the ball, you can get your hands to the ball. Really tried to, or should have tried to make a catch on that. It was an intelligent pass from Stewart. It got outside them. I really think that he had to try and half volley that one because there was a bit of space.
What a pass. What a pass by Ricky Stewart. That's as long a ball as I've seen thrown by Ricky Stewart, and he throws the longest in the game.
Yeah, it was no better than Mal Meninga's on the far side to put Nagas away, but
wasn't that a gem of a pass? You're quite right. We're talking about the length of the ball from Stewart, though. My goodness, it covered some ground. He took them from the centre of the field to the left extremity in one pass, and with accuracy. So the reserve grade hooker is on for Canterbury in jumper number 22. Well,
that's a great kick there from Canterbury, just what the doctor ordered. Getting the ball down the other end of the field. By finding touch, it allows them to get their defence right and get set from this scrum. Because the tide has turned this second half. Canberra with much more possession, looking far more dangerous. They've really had a lot of success down that far side of the field.
Seems as wondering what might have been off that previous play, I think, from Stewart and Mullins. Jason Hetherington has gone on as the replacement for Ben Gillies. He's the young man that they purchased from the Gold Coast. David Ferner is 28 metres away from his own line. There's been no shortage of excitement here. Lomax. Canterbury was on the wrong side of the wall, a lopsided wall of defence. Canberra, that is. They were expected to make twice as many tackles almost in the first 40 minutes. 17-12 then, 11 minutes to go.
We'd like to thank you for being a part of today's multicultural day. Official attendance 24,625. Thank you.
69th minute of the game, and Canterbury lead by 5. All Canterbury the first half. Canberra probably won't need to do any defensive work for another month. They've had it all here today, all the practice. But as I was saying on the other side of the break, given an even break in possession, and the second half has belonged to them, and the scoreboard tells of a very important statistic. They have scored more tries than Canterbury. And McCallum is reeling that the ball was knocked on. It's brought a look of amazement to the face of many. 24,629. That'd be the second biggest crowd here, I believe, on this day. Ironically, the record was set, and it was then that the Canterbury club said, hang on, 27,500 is too many, too dangerous. And so they kept it down to a max of around 25,000. There'll be plenty of them disappointed if they don't get the 2 points here. Darren Smith, 30 metres out, centre of the ground. Inside the 10th minute of the, inside the last 10 minutes of the game, and Gillies. Martin Bella. Polamalu, Lamb, Darren Smith holds off with one, uses the other to try and put McCracken back on the inside. Clyde made the tackle with Stewart. This is the last. So Stewart and Clyde are out of the play as Lamb puts up the bomb off the hands of who? No, McCallum says, come on back here to the 20-metre line.
Yes, knock on there by Terry Lamb. He was under a lot of pressure, Jason Croker. But Lamb gets the play on the ball. It's a great kick, perfectly placed kick. As Hetherington now takes it 29 out from his own line, and it must be some concern to Chris Anderson that his side can't finish teams off. 2 weeks ago they had a big enough lead to beat Cronulla. It got rolled. And last week, as Steve Wallace throws the dummy up the middle, they had South Sydney in a similar position and nearly lost that one as well.
He's nearly been their best, Steve Walters, today. Clyde, Meninga, they run some angles. That looks like Lomax, but it's not. Another replacement out there for Canberra. Ruben Wiki went in and bounced off, then came through. Now hurdling them is Stone. Floats it out for Jason Croker. Croker on Halligan. Turned inside, touched by Canterbury, was it? Played by Mullins. McCallum said it wasn't because he hasn't indicated the nullification. Now from Stewart across to Hetherington. Then for the big fella Meninga. Floats the pass out for Nagus. Nagus does some dancing. Now intercepted by Canterbury by Dean Pay.
Well, I'm with you, Ray. I thought that there was a Canterbury hand in the Brett Mullins juggle on this side. Scotty Wilson makes a good run from the dummy half position. I don't know if the Bulldogs could have held out for another set of 6.
It was an important ruling too. You might say, well, it doesn't really matter. You saw what happened. But if you know that you watch it here, watch it. Let's see. If you go back to the start of the tackle count, you can reassemble your thinking. No doubt in my mind that Terry Lamb got a hand to it. And Sterlo, you know better than I, but that being the case, if it's nullified, you probably go back to square one and say, well, we can start again.
Yeah, that's a crucial decision with only 6.5 minutes to go. And Canberra are one team that you just can't hold out for a great length of time in your own 20-metre area. All of a sudden, the ball's down the other end, over Croker's head. They've got 100 metres to go.
Terry Lamb, magnificent effort. Way down the ground he came, putting them onside. Clyde. His name synonymous, of course, with that workhorse. And he's built in a similar mould. He's big, he's strong, and he loves working. In fact, earlier in the season, we read an article where Tim Sheens has suggested maybe he should curtail his workload. That's what employers right across the spectrum say to Sterlo. Cut down your workload, Sterlo. Just give us quality stuff.
No, just stay with the footballers. Ricky Stewart, they're going to run it again on the last. They've got a few numbers out there.
Meninga pops it up. That's Croker working from the left wing on the right alongside his wing companion Nagus. The ball comes out. Referee had ordered the turnover anyway. Blue and white jumpers down everywhere. 5 minutes to go. I thought Nagus lost it, but in fact he was trying to do all he could on the last tackle. And Martin Bella comes off and Darren Britt goes on, former Western Suburbs regular first grader. And talking of workhorses, he's just that. Jim Dimmick played alongside Darren Britt when he was at Western Suburbs. This is him now, the big fella we're talking about, Darren Britt in 23. Hetherington at 22. And now Gillies gives it back for Scott Wilson. Wilson wishes he hadn't. Bradley Clyde making the tackle. Lamb, a short pass over for Dean Pay. Strong efforts, I keep telling you, by Dean Pay and Simon Gillies today. Somebody's got to be doing plenty of work up front for the backs to capitalise. And look at that ball. It just lollies over the touch-in goal line. Beautiful weight on it. But it doesn't really matter in the final analysis. It comes back to the 20-metre line for the restart by Rick Stewart, and Lomax, John Lomax, is brought down.
Out there for Canberra. David Lomax has come into the game now. A little bit surprised. I thought they might have put an attacking player. Canberra, they're certain to keep the ball alive. Was that a high tackle?
Well, he got a smack across the face, Sterlo. I don't know whether that's a high tackle or not, but he certainly got a hand across the face. Great defence by Canterbury's Jared McCracken. Bradley Clyde plays the ball. Stewart got an ordinary pass. He was still able to get his kick in, but Wilson will run it back. Scott Wilson, who scored a try early in the game. Hetherington at acting half. Lamb sees an opening. It is closed down now by David Westley.
With 3 minutes to go, Canterbury can't afford to make a mistake. They'll be looking to drive the ball deep on the last tackle. As Gillies straight over the top of the Canberra defender. Great pass.
Bad luck for Gillies and Darren Smith, but Hetherington is with the ball for Canberra. Stewart. Stone electing that time to come back. In field, he had Meninga outside him. David Lomax. 17-12, 2 minutes to go. A game very much played in two halves. The first all Canterbury. I wouldn't go that far about the second half, but the second half very much with the Raiders. Now, is this their chance? Who made the tackle? You guessed it. The number one Bulldog, Terry Lamb, bringing down Ruben Wickie. Stone promotes for Stewart. And Stewart is ridden into the ground by Dean Pay on 5.
He was looking for somebody to run into a hole there. He'll be disappointed on the last tackle that he's had to play it. They've got to keep it alive.
Stewart gets it away for John Lomax and Mal Meninga. The Australian captain gives them the mistake they wanted.
Good pressure from Craig Polamauna. Meant Mal Meninga had a look as Darren Smith takes yards down the blind side. Mal's had an unhappy game with his hands. Like 4 drop balls today and none more crucial than that one. Oh, big tackle there, John Lomax.
Darren Britt on the end of it. Jim Dimmock. The crowd getting ready to count out the final 60 seconds. Ryan. High tackle.
It's Lomax again.
John Lomax. His confidence was really up after a big tackle on Darren Britt. But this time he's gone too high on Matthew Ryan.
I think you can gain from that Greg McCallum has told him he's been up there a couple of times today. That one was about the third. And with only 30 seconds left on the clock, Canterbury weren't prepared to kick for goal and have the ball not go dead. They know possession is all that is important. They'll wind this 6 down.
Britt playing it back for Hetherington. The last set of 6 in the game, barring mistakes. The crowd tell the story. 24,500 of them, they can rejoice. Canterbury has defeated Canberra. This is the 10th time they've met at Belmore, and Canberra still has only won once. Canberra probably will think they've had a moral victory. 3 tries to 2. For the Bulldogs, Scott Wilson and Simon Gillies scored tries. Halligan played a vital part, 4 out of 4. Terry Lamb a field goal. And what a performance. And Canberra, Nagus, Mullins and Croker cross for tries. And Ferner, by comparison with Halligan, none out of 3. Well, the multicultural day on this Easter Monday has proven successful for the promoters, successful for the crowd, and wham bam, thank you Lamb, because it's been successful on the field too for the doggies. They gave their fans some anxious moments in the second half. They led 17-4 at the break, and they've signalled a warning at that time to beware of the dogs. But Canberra showed how great they are. Without Daly, they came back into the breeze, and we had a football match. 17-12 then to Canterbury. We're back with the man of the match and more after this break.
Well, the $1,000 Ansett man of the match today goes to well-deserved Dean Pay. Congratulations, Dean. Mate, tough one out there today.
Oh, mate, I just kept coming. You know, you just can't relax against Canberra as we've relaxed against Cronulla and all them, let them back in it.
It must be a worry for Canterbury. The last 3 weeks have had good leads at half-time. They don't seem to finish it off.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, mate, but, you know, at half-time, Opes really give it to us, and we come up trumps today.
Yeah, it's good for you to have a break with players coming off the bench, such as Brokenshire, Marty Bella, use that rotation system.
Oh, them 2 old fellas are great when they come on. You know, they just charge in them like there's no tomorrow. That makes it easy for me. I just run off them.
And what about the crowd? It must be a big lift for you.
Oh, mate, this is great. You know, it gives you a real buzz when there's 24,000 here.
Thanks.